Okay, so on the computer is player Paul, and on the phone is player Paul 2. They're going to play each other in rock, paper, scissors. So I'll choose my opponent, Paul 2, and I'll use rock. He's going to choose opponent Paul and choose some other one. So we see the result of the two throws and then a sound effect showing that I won on the computer, and it says that Paul won over here. Okay. Hello, my name is Paul Parkinson, and I'm going to show you how to create a mobile multiplayer game with Unity and the Oracle Backend for Parse. I'll first show the install of the Oracle Backend for Parse platform that is powering all of this, installing Unity and create a project, downloading the Unity project from GitHub that has Unity and C# files, run the app as a demonstration, and then I'll show you how to set up Unity by adding the parse.net SDK to the Unity project. And then we'll go through and look a little closer at the different Unity aspects and code that uses parse. So first, you can get the Oracle Backend for Parse platform off the Oracle Marketplace. And so you see that here. To get there, I just came down to the menu, select Marketplace, all applications, and search on Parse. And you can just click it there. So the back end provides the Parse server that is taking requests from your mobile application. And that Parse server is automatically connected to an Oracle database. There's an adapter for Parse that does all the JSON and relational work against the database via the Parse APIs. And that's running on a full Kubernetes infrastructure. So it provides scaling and various aspects there. So the next thing we can do is go ahead and just look at installing Unity and creating a project. So let's do that. To do so, you will download the Unity Hub and create a project and pick an edition of Unity to run that project in. So both the application I've written here and the parse library are very adaptable. So you can go back to 2018 all the way up to the latest versions of Unity, and this will work. I happen to be using 2021.3.21. And again, you just create a project. It can be of various types. I picked 2D mobile because that's what we're creating, but you don't actually have to do that, even if you are doing a mobile project. But just so you know what I used here, it's 2D mobile, okay? The next thing you can do is go ahead and download the game itself from this repo. And you will see I have both the project and the project file. So you use one of these, not both. So this you can either drop into Unity, as I'll show, or you can drop this folder into Unity. The Unity package is essentially a zip file of the Unity files, okay? So now let's pop over to Unity. And you can see here the project that I mentioned, okay? And before we get started, maybe I will show a quick demonstration of the game itself. Okay, so on the computer is player Paul, and on the phone is player Paul 2. They're going to play each other in rock, paper, scissors. So I'll choose my opponent, Paul 2, and I'll use rock. He's going to choose opponent Paul and choose some other one. So we see the result of the two throws and then a sound effect showing that I won on the computer, and it says that Paul won over here, okay? So the next thing we'll talk about is how to import the parse libraries into the Unity project, which is very easy. And there are two aspects to it. First, importing the library, and then second, setting up a link XML file to tell Unity to be sure to include it in the final build of the game, okay? So first, importing the project, you can do that in two ways. One is by either dropping the DLL into a directory, and in Unity, the directories are all essentially treated the same, but of course, there's a naming convention to keep things organized. So generally, plugins are put in a plugins directory under the name of the plugin. So we could drop the DLL plugins parse DLL in this directory, and then that will bring in the files. And that's all you have to do is drop the file in. So you can, I have that in the repo for the game, or you can also get it directly by downloading it from here. And so I'm using the parse 2.00 develop one. So you could go on NuGet here, download the package, grab the DLL and drop it in, okay? So that is one way. The other way, since it's nice that parse is open source, you can actually just drop the parse source code right in the project and have it compiled as part of your game. And that's actually what I did here, just because I like to look at the parse code and, you know, step into it and things like that. So either option. As I mentioned, the second step is just to add a basic link XML file that mentions the files to preserve when you do a build. So that means, you know, Unity will keep those files in the build. And that's really all there is to it. So now let's look at the actual game in Unity. The main game object is this rock, paper, scissors game object. And I've attached to it this parse rock, paper, scissors game script that we'll look at closer. What's nice in Unity is that these variables here for the script match map to the GUI that you see here. So we can drag objects here, and that sets the variable in the script, okay? So just going through some of the objects here, we have a play again button. We have the a drop down for the different options for the different players. We have the play board, which is the rock, paper, scissors, and the throw objects. And then we have the audio sounds when there's a win and the outcome text. Okay, and you can see these objects are here, and then they're set on to the script. So if we look closer at the playboard, if the rock button is pressed, we see over on this rock object that the on-click action is to call our script and execute the rock method, and likewise for paper and scissors, of course. And then back to the main game object here, we see the sounds that will be played by the script in reaction to different scenarios as far as winning. Okay, so now let's go look at the actual code. So here I have, it's all in one script. I have the rock, paper, scissors game script. And the two main parse objects I use are a parse object and parse query. Okay, use parse query as you would expect for the various selects, find async method in particular, and the parse object for saving and modifying objects. So just quickly going through, this is a Unity mono behavior, and this has a few methods to it. One of them is a start. And so this will be called as soon as the game object that it's attached to is instantiated. And the first thing it will do is create a parse client. And the code to create the parse client is here. It's getting the application ID, server ID, and whatever master key to connect. And we saw that in the console in the Unity listed here. So you replace this value with your server, application ID, master ID. And then we see a couple other aspects that are unique to creating the parse client in Unity. And those are these values here. And then the call to publicize, which makes the client available to this program. The next thing we do is register that drop-down list for the opponents and add a listener. So whenever that a value is changed on that drop-down box, this on drop-down value change method down here will be called. Okay, so we just register that up front. We do the login for parse, and here I just use test and test every time. And then, only this user can see changes that are made. So all of the different opponents use the same user. And then I do a parse query. So I just create a parse query object. And I do that on the rock, paper, scissors player class. And I do a find async. So I'm just getting all the results from that. So real quickly, if we go over to the parse dashboard, parse has a nice little dashboard here. We see the rock, paper, scissors players that I just mentioned querying, and we see these players here. Okay, and that's what's being queried to populate the drop-down box. And then we just add to the drop-down list here. Okay. And then that's all that we are doing in the startup. So then when the drop-down action occurs, we reset all the values, and then we make the playboard active. And so the playboard, again, is the buttons to throw paper, scissors, rock. Now that the playboard is active with those 3 buttons, if any of those buttons is pushed, it triggers, as we saw, these methods. So if rock is called, it will set the rock value, or set the rock picture to be active so you can see it. And then it will insert the player throw. And the insert player throw does just what you would expect. It inserts into the database, into the Oracle database, the throw that the player has made. And then, there's special logic if it's the computer, since the computer is built into the local phone, of course. And then this is waiting on reply is set to true, okay? And this is waiting on reply set to true is being checked in the update method. So we saw the start method. The update method is another particular method to Unity. This is called every so often. We want it not called that frequently. So I have set it to be called every 3 seconds. And while parse does have notification and we have messaging in the database with transactional event queues, here I'm actually just using a simple polling device to poll to see if the opponent has made their move, okay? And that's what's happening here with the check opponent call. So now the check opponent call is doing a lot of the work. It's going in and making a query where the player name is equal to the opponent, so we're looking for the opponent's move, and where the opponent name is equal to player, which is our name. So we're looking for the table of the opponent, what move they made against us. And then again, we issue this find async method, which is in the parse query class. And we get the move. If they still haven't made their move, we continue to wait. If they did make their move, we check it, and then we go ahead and do the appropriate, message as far as who won, and set the audio player for the appropriate sound, whether it's the scissors cutting paper or the rock hitting the scissors, etc. And that's the essence of the game. At the end, we go ahead and do cleanup. Where we delete the object, okay? And so each opponent deletes the other opponent's move that it's been waiting on. The player does not delete his own move because the opponent may be waiting to query on it. He doesn't know that aspect. And so that's how that works as far as cleanup. And that's about it as far as the game. Very easy to set this up. Will only take a minute or two. When it comes time to build your mobile app, you go to File, Build Settings, and Unity has made it easier and easier over the years. You pick your platform, Android or iOS. Click Switch Platform. After a couple of minutes, it'll build the necessary components. And then in iOS, you simply mention that you're going to run it in Xcode, and then you can build it, or even just build it and run it, and it'll go through Xcode and deploy it to your phone as normal. So nothing too special there. Sometimes there are some player settings depending on what you're doing, and you can go in here to the player settings and set that up. For example, there may be camera usage description and things like that if you're using stuff like that, but pretty straightforward. And that's all there is to it. Thank you so much.